Welcome back, guys. We're going over swords this time. I got a lot of comments on the great sword video. What about this weapon? What about this weapon? Well, it turns out, my friends, that those weapons you were talking about are actually swords and not great swords. So we're here to talk about that today as we go through Castle Melphikius. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Item world, which sorts of swords you should be looking out for, which sorts of types, and then a couple specific weapons of that type. So the first type of sword we're going to go over are the elemental swords. Elemental weapons, as you guys know, are usually used to chain with your friends or take advantage of elemental weaknesses on your opponent. So having like a couple of these of the more common elemental types might be something that you're interested in. So we have the Fryevia here representing Holy right now. You can also get the Raid Jack one, the Light Bringer from his event if you're around for that. And then if you don't have Fryevia, you don't have the Raid Jack event weapon, don't worry, because in the future we'll get a decently strong, it's actually pretty strong, it's probably about as strong as Fryevia actually, light elemental sword from a 10-man trial boss. So you'll be able to get that. I think that one is also called the Light Bringer, so we're gonna have like 3 different Light Bringers in FFBE. But light's a pretty common element to chain with your allies as you get new units and new 7 Stars Awaken. You get more chaining families, more units in those chaining families. So that's why elemental weapons are super important here. Now, Brotherhood is a water elemental one. Usually going to be just for chaining. You might think that maybe you'll use this on 7-star Titus. You can if you want, but 7-star Titus does get dual cast and triple cast skills. So a lot of the time, you're just going to be imbuing your fixed dice if you want to do massive damage with your Titus and blow people away. That way, if you're, for whatever reason, super opposed to using a weapon like fixed dice, you can put Brotherhood on there, but you'll be doing a lot less damage. Now, the other one we have is Lightning Saber. This is a lightning elemental sword. You can go ahead and get these 3. Now, these 3 weapons, keep in mind, are just the representatives of the elemental weapons you can choose to use. If you have a team comp that's set up around using like maybe fire and using Verdun, I think is the fire elemental one, maybe that's something you want to do. But Holy is going to be fairly common, and lightning should be fairly common as we move into the future as well. Brotherhood, water's not the most common, and if you are going to be using fixed dice in your Titus, Brotherhood's where you're going to want to not be. You want to be using fixed dice instead. Now, non-elemental weapons is the next type. Omega weapon is representing the non-elemental weapons tree here. Another really strong one is actually the Onion Knight's TMR as well. Onion Knight, you could activate his trust ability that way, or you can just go ahead and use the dice on the Onion Knight boy when he gets a 7-star Awakening too, because his enhancements give him an imbues. So maybe not the greatest thing, but Omega weapon, if you're looking for a solid non-elemental sword, Mega weapon, awesome. Onion Knight's TMR is also good as well, because sometimes you're going to want to be using a non-elemental sword. But other than that, they're just there when you need them. They're not as important, in my opinion, as the elemental weapons for the swords are, because you can always just find some other random non-elemental anything. You're not really focusing on having to use a sword as your non-elemental weapon slot. Now, these are non-elemental weapons, the next couple, but they're in here because they have additional effect of killers, which can be very strong. The Trominator sword is a TMR from Killing Machine. If you did get a Killing Machine from the old Dragon Lord event, I guess it's a Dragon Lord event, the DQ Dragon Quest event, very strong, 114 attack. It's a lot lower than, something like Omega weapon, but it does give you the nice 50% machine killer. So you want to have access to this. 50% machine killer on a sword is absolutely insane. Another nice killer sword here we have is the Cautery sword, 85 attack. It's a lot less than usual, but if you're dual wielding, the attacks can only be going towards the attack that you're doing with the Cautery sword anyhow. Obviously, Cautery sword, Trominator sword, most swords are one-handed and not very good for true double hand builds anyways. But the demon killer on here is also 50%. So think about this, maybe for dual wield Fryevia, you want to put some Trominator swords up and in there with some magic attack instead of the attack and rare abilities like you do for most other swords. Now, speaking of Fryevia and stuff like that, we do have Death Trap. These are going to be your non-elemental hybrid damage source. So Death Trap here, 80 attack, 100 magic. Then very similar to Death Trap is Sorcery, which is 100 attack, 84 magic. You can mix and match either one. It doesn't really matter. Death Trap's technically a little bit better for units like Kunshira and Fryevia. For these ones, you're actually going to want to do it a little different. You may be thinking, oh, I want to stack a bunch of magic on my Death Trap or on my Sorcery or on my Fryevia Needle, but we'll get the Needle in a second. Death Trap and Sorcery, it's really easy on units who want to be geared out like Kunshira and Fryevia for hybrid damage to hit one of the caps really fast, especially the magic cap on units like Fryevia and Kunshira specifically. So you'll be able to hit that 300% magic cap instantaneously. So the best damage build that you can actually do for them technically is to, since they're hybrid damage, boost their attack and their magic as close to cap as possible. And since you hit the magic cap so easily through gear, letter and arms, you know, if you're starting out, or Kunshira, Tamar thrown in their Adventure 5, Ring of Lucia if you have the access to that, and stuff like that, you're actually going to want to do a mix and match of attack and magic. So if you want to shoot for the moon, you can get the rare ability, which is 15% attack, 15% HP, attack plus 15%, and then magic plus 15%. If you're shooting for the moon, I know those are 3 maxed out things, but you can get 30% attack, 15% magic on each of your weapons, and your dual wieldings give you 60% attack, 30% magic still. Then you put on your Adventure 5s and your stuff like that. You can get to a build with, I think for Fryevia specifically, I had it set up to like 290% attack and 290% magic, and it still had a slot in the materia slot for a killer. So she was rocking like almost 1200 magic and 1000 attack before buffs with item roll. Makes it absolutely insane. Now, Fryevia Needle is going to be a little bit different. I'll talk about it here for a second. So it's going to follow the same sort of philosophy as Death Trap and Sorcery, but we also want to talk about maybe what may happen with Fryevia 7-star as you go about this. So what we said about Death Trap and Sorcery still applies. She gets the magic cap really fast. You want to boost your attack and magic. But another thing you might want to think about is actually going full attack on Fryevia Needle. And not only because does Fryevia really hit the magic cap quite fast with, you know, your certain gear loadouts, but we don't know exactly what they're going to do with Fryevia 7-star, but she is potentially going to be, you know, very similar to Kurasame from Type 0. If you want to see that video, you know, it's in the playlist section in the sneak peek series. But Kurasame is a true double hand hybrid ice damage dealer. And when Fryevia got her enhancements, she got a bunch of true double hand buffs in her passive. So maybe she'll be a dual caster, right? A dual cast skill user that wants to true double hand. And Kurasame's best build, even though he's hybrid damage, since he's true double hand with W and triple cast, Fryevia, if she ends up very similar to him, is actually going to stack as much attack as possible on her double hand / true double hand build. And for that reason, you may want to think about actually just going full attack on your Fryevia Needle. I mean, if you had the choice between the rare ability 15% attack, and then you want to do that, and then 12% attack or 15% magic, either one of those is fine. But I just wanted to get my point across that Fryevia Needle, especially if you're trying to plan for the future, getting more attack than magic is going to be beneficial for both her double hand / true double hand as well as her hybrid damage build. So definitely build it that way, in my opinion. You'll be set for the future with your girl, most definitely. So rest at ease. You know, you can't really mess it up. Just get as much attack over magic. So if you want to see more stuff, guys, hit that sub button, and I'll see you guys on stream, I think tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. If you want to see previous content, playlist section down below. I also will have the other item world guides in the description of this video. So thanks for hanging out with me, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.